the fifth quarter. Apologies for the 1-week hiatus after the Tulane game, but we're back. And it's under much worse circumstances. OU falls in their SEC opener to Tennessee, 25-15, at what was an excruciatingly painful night in Norman, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Guys, I don't even know where to start. So I'm not going to start with offense. Let's focus on some of the positives. Let's focus on some of the good things that happened. And a lot of good things on the defensive side of the ball, I think we'd say. I think this was the test that we were waiting for. And if it's me giving the analysis, I think we passed in flying colors. Yes, a couple of busted plays. Yes, a couple of touchdowns scored. But nonetheless, guys, we held one of the best offenses in the nation, statistically the best offense in the nation, to 23 points. The 2 points coming off the safety. So defense only giving up 23 points on the day, holding Tennessee to less than 350 yards. I believe they totaled 345 on the day, 194 through the air, and 151 on the ground. But regardless, I think we did an amazing job of containing this high-octane, high-performing offense. Yes, they may have kind of put their foot on the brake a little bit in the second half to kind of milk the clock, get the game sped up. But nonetheless, I mean, it can't go without recognition how well we played even in those situations. Getting them off the field, getting our offense back, getting our offense the ball back. I mean, it was an outstanding day on the defensive side of the ball. So positive thoughts. And I can't even say positive because there's not a lot of positivity here. It's been a really, really tough couple of days. I think we've all seen the meltdown that has been the OU football fan base. I think we all accepted that some losses were inevitable this year, but the way we lost, the lack of points, the lack of production on the offensive side of the ball, really spurring everybody on to kind of hit that panic button, myself included. I'm not excluded in that statement. I've hit the panic button on the offense. I am in a deep, deep state of concern. Defensively, I think we've built an SEC-ready defense. I think we can compete with anybody nationally on the defensive side of the ball. And what's so unfortunate is we don't have the complementary football to be played on the offensive side that will take us, I think, where we want to go. And that's ultimately to the playoff, ultimately to the national championship. We're not getting there with this offense. I don't even think we're getting anywhere close. Right now, if you ask me, I'm looking at 7 wins, maybe. And I'm trying to find the wins outside of Maine to get us there. This weekend's a good opportunity, but it's going to be tough if we can't figure out how to score some points. We'll get into that, though. I did want to say a couple more things on the defense. Woody Washington shouldn't play anymore. He should be a player coach. I appreciate everything he's done for the program, sticking around in tough times. I really think he wanted to stay and learn under Brent, but I think this defense has developed well past him at this point. Whether it's at corner, whether it's at safety, the guy always seems like he's 2 or 3 steps behind the person that he's supposed to be defending, and it's cost us. He hasn't looked good against bad teams, and he definitely didn't look good against a good team the other night. So a little confused as to why he's out there. I think we're deep at both of those positions. Yeah, some of it's young talent, but the depth is there. I don't know if it's just a loyalty thing or if the coaches see things at practice that Woody just can't do in games. But like I said, I will not be disappointed whatsoever if I don't see number 5 on the field for the Sooners on defense again. One name that I did want to positively highlight is Eli Bowen. Eli Bowen goes out there in the second half of a huge game and pulls his weight. He gets thrown out a couple times and he's right there on his receiver. And to come in and do that as a freshman against a team like Tennessee, I think it speaks volumes to the type of player he is, and maybe even more so to the type of player he is going to be. So a lot of good things to talk about. I mean, we could go on and on about the defense. We could talk about the forced fumbles that don't turn into anything because of the offensive problems we have, the pressure we got. But again, it boils down to the fact that the best offense in the country walks into Norman, and I think we, more so than not, pin them down. And if you were to ask me on Friday night, if we hold Tennessee to 25 points, do we win the game? I say absolutely. I didn't think there was any situation where we don't score 25. And some people may say that's crazy. What have I seen in the past few weeks that has made me think that? Honestly, not a lot. I think it was more so hope that we would turn things around and get things figured out, especially with some of the guys that we had coming back, with Nick Anderson coming back, with Hickman coming back, with what was supposed to be Andrell Anthony coming back, what was supposed to be Troy Everett coming back. Friday night, I'm sitting there riding high and thinking, man, this is it. This is the turning point. This is why we've looked so bad. We haven't had these guys. But all of those expectations were slashed pretty early on. Anyways, last call out on the defense, just another big shout out to the team. Zach Alley, I don't know, we don't hear from you a lot, but maybe that's a good thing. You've done incredible. Keep it up. Linebackers, keep it up. Danny, keep it up. That linebacker group is still just unbelievable in the run stopping ability. The interior defensive line, the defensive ends. I could go on and on. I know I'm just rambling things on and on, but the defense has been incredible. So keep it up. Maybe we'll figure out how to get you a complimentary offense at some point this season. Maybe. All right. Let's get into the bad and the ugly part of Saturday night. And as I've mentioned, as I've alluded to, the offense. And funny enough, I was walking around and I think I may have seen Seth Luttrell. Let me just show you real quick what this guy was wearing. So I saw a guy walking around with a brown bag on his head. I was like, that's interesting. Brown bag means you're usually, you're ashamed of yourself. You're embarrassed. Why is there someone walking around with a brown bag on their head? So I had to go inquire. Get to conversing. The guy says, he was working on Saturday night. He disappointed a lot of people. Basically fell short on every obligation that his job required from top to bottom, and said he's been having a rough month at work. And I was like, man, that's really tough. And I'm trying to put the pieces together here. And it's like a rough month at work, disappointing a lot of people. Oh, and he said his boss was absolutely livid. Said he keeps doing the same thing over and over after he's been told to fix it, after everyone's been calling him out to fix it, and we get the same results. So I'm just like, I'm piecing this whole thing together, and it hits me. Seth Luttrell, that's you. So it was Seth, brown bag Seth. I don't know how long he's going to wear the brown bag. I don't know if it's something that he plans on wearing to Auburn. But again, it's not a very good disguise. However, a worthy one. I'd be ashamed too, Seth. I'd be very, very ashamed. I am being a little dramatic here, but it was bad. And I think if Seth can't see how bad it is, Seth needs to just relinquish control of the offense. What's sad is, I don't know who he's going to relinquish control to, because Joe John Finley doesn't seem to be doing anything either. Spending time golfing or chewing on tobacco. I have no idea what these guys are doing during the week to quote-unquote prepare for the game. And I think you and me and Jay and Lucas and Steve, I think we could all go sit in a film room and draw up an offensive game plan that would have been better than what we saw on Saturday night. Given there's some shortfalls in the players and everything else, but those are just excuses at this point. There's nothing that the offense has done to instill any sort of confidence that we're going to turn this thing around. And it starts with Seth Luttrell. Nay, it starts with Brent Venables. And I say that. I think Brent Venables made some tough decisions over the course of the game. But now what decisions is he going to make internally to make sure that Seth doesn't keep repeating the same thing over and over? and he can take the brown bag off and actually figure this thing out. I don't know what it's going to take. It is a top to bottom problem, and there seems like there is no hope in sight for any part of this offense, whether it's the offensive line not being able to gel. And again, let me just pause there for a moment. I've been on the Bill Bedenbaugh grace train for the past like 3 or 4 years. Oh, you know, he'll same thing that I always said. He'll figure it out. We'll put something together. And then it hits me. I've been saying that since the Joe Moore Award winning class of 2018, who had a bunch of 3-star guys on it that just happened to be good. So how much more grace are we going to give the guy? Yeah, he develops individual talent into NFL players. What does that do for me as an OU fan? It doesn't do anything. Go develop a group as a whole. Go have a legit 2-deep at each position. Quit acting like you can just do this plug and play game plan because you think you're some wizard of the offensive line world. You're not. And it's obvious. It's not working. I don't care how many draft picks you get. I don't care how many guys you put in the NFL. If you're not blocking at the University of Oklahoma or have a team that can block, we're not going to win games. And it's so obvious. So I'm Bill Bedenbaugh out. If I could create a hashtag, put it across the screen, Bill Bedenbaugh out. Go figure something else out. Go create draft picks in another place, because at this point, you're not putting together offensive lines that can sustain any sort of protection for your quarterback or for your running backs. And I'm not going to give you the window of opportunity of 4 or 5 games to figure it out each year. You have all offseason to figure it out, and you don't. So get out. I think it's time. That's the offensive line spiel. Seth Luttrell, bad hire, plain and simple. And I said it on the postgame podcast. I'll say it again. The nepotism that is Oklahoma football is unbelievable. And some of this falls back on Joe Castiglione for continuing this quote-unquote family mentality and promoting within and you know, oh, we're all family here and we want things to be all buddy-buddy and let's just be happy with one another and let's promote from within. Hey, Mike Stoops, you know, Lincoln's the new coach. We don't need a new DC. We're going to keep you. Okay, great. Hey, Ruffin McNeil, why don't you come in too and hang out? I know you and Lincoln are friends. You'd be a great addition to the staff. And when Mike gets fired, you can have the job. Awesome. And then you bring in Alex Grinch, who doesn't work out, and you keep him entirely too long. Speed D, what are you talking about? We can't go tackle anybody. So it's this incompetence and this just lack of aggression in the coaching world. I mean, I'm a big BV believer, but look at Brent Venables. The Brent Venables hire is an internal hire with X amount of years removed where he spent at Clemson. It was almost like there was no thought of anybody else. Brent Venables was an OU guy. Brent Venables is the next OU coach. And that whole mentality has just seeped and saturated this entire staff and program, and it's going to cost us wins. It's going to cost us being competitive. Seth Luttrell, OU guy, gets brought in as an analyst, and then it's like, oh, it's convenient. Let's promote him to offensive coordinator. And while we're at it, let's promote the ex-OU tight end, Joe John Finley, as co-offensive coordinator, because it's all convenient. Why are we going on convenience when we have money, we have resources to go out and explore the open market and go find someone great? Guess what happened the last time we went and did that? We got Lincoln Riley, the best offensive mind of the last 10 years, and we find him at East Carolina, but we did our research, we looked around, we did not hire from within. Yeah, he's part of the Mike Leach coaching tree and everything else, but it was an external hire that turned into be a gold rush of production. So I don't know why we continue to make the same mistake over and over and over again and expect a different result. Seth Luttrell was a fullback. I know he's had some head coaching experience at North Texas, and I know he has had other offensive coordinator opportunities like at Arizona under Mike Stoops. So we're going to have to stop being such good friends around here and go actually make a good hire and find someone who can run an offense. Because guess what? If you don't, you're going to lose recruits. You're going to lose current players, and they're going to go out and they're going to be good on other teams because we did not give them the opportunity to be good at OU. Rant. I apologize, but it sucks. It all sucks on offense right now. Just to highlight a couple things, we're averaging 299 yards per game. We finished with 222 yards on Saturday. It's pathetic. I keep picking us to have over 400 yards in the game, and it's just, again, I'm making the same mistake over and over thinking we can do that. We averaged 1.1 yards per carry on Saturday night. And I don't care how good Tennessee's defensive line is, 1.1 yards per carry at the University of Oklahoma, it's more unacceptable than unacceptable. I don't even know what else to say about it. It's just abysmal. Big story of the weekend, obviously, and we're going into overtime here on time, so hang in there with me. But big story, obviously, Jackson Arnold gets benched going into halftime. Just before halftime, actually, Michael Hawkins steps in as the quarterback, and he did pretty well, guys. He did pretty well. I think he did a lot of the things that Jackson hasn't been doing. I'm not saying Hawkins was perfect by any means. I mean, I think he can obviously improve on a few things. He's a true freshman. Obviously, he's going to have to improve on some things. But what I see in Hawkins that I don't see in Arnold, confidence, a little bit of swagger, decision-making, and just kind of the go-getter attitude that we need right now, that we're going to have, especially with the offensive line that we're fielding. So, don't get me wrong. I feel for Jackson. I'm big Jackson fan. I really did think he was the one who was going to kind of start leading us to the promised land. And it just hasn't shaken out that way. And I'm theorizing about this a little bit. I know I've theorized a little bit about it on the podcast, and I'm sure others have too. It seems like a relatively elementary theory, but last year I think we saw some of that swagger and some of that kind of decision-making from Jackson that we haven't seen this year. I think we saw it last year, but I think we saw it because he didn't have a job to lose last year. He wasn't the guy. He could go make a mistake and not have to worry about losing his job next week. Dylan's going to be there. So he cut it loose. He let it fly. And we just haven't seen it. I think we've seen some sparks where it was almost like we were going to see it, and then it never comes to fruition. And you can't be indecisive in this league. They'll make you pay. And then what will happen is you'll get benched. And you did get benched. And now you're not the starter. Michael Hawkins tonight gets announced as a starter on Brent Venables' coaching show. And was trying to sift through my thoughts a little bit. I told a few people before that it wouldn't shock me one bit if Jackson started against Auburn. Kind of give him a breather after the Tennessee game and say, hey, relax, we're going to put you back out there. Brent's making the cutthroat decision, and I appreciate it. I think it's a tough decision to make. But I think with everything he's seen, everything we've heard, Hawkins sounds like he's the dude. And I wasn't one of those guys who was hopping on the hype train in fall camp with a lot of people coming out and saying that Hawkins looked like he was the better quarterback. I thought it was just some, fall camp fodder, and everyone wants to say that the backup has a shot just because it's a conversation, it's a hit piece, it's clickbait. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe he is. It's not to say we're not going to see some growing pains with Michael Hawkins, but I think we have an opportunity to do something with him that we didn't take advantage of with Jackson last year, and that's go get him first-team reps in the league and prepare him for what's to come next year. I haven't written this season off by any means, but at this point, it doesn't look like we're going to make the playoff. I don't think I would predict us to make the playoff unless there's some drastic changes. I know Brent Venables and team haven't written it off, but as a fan from the outside looking in, I don't think that's really in the cards right now. So if that's the case, go let Michael Hawkins play in these high-pressure games, these tough road environments. Go let him play in Dallas against the #1 team in the nation in Texas. Give him the opportunity to get the experience so when next year rolls around and God willing, we actually have an offensive line and a healthy wide receiver core, we have kind of the full package at that point to go along with the defense that Brent has built. So I don't think we did that with Jackson last year. I think we had an opportunity to get him some experience in a much less competitive, a much less difficult league in the Big 12. And, I think we had a conference championship game in our sights, and we kept the safe option, Dylan Gabriel, out there. It's tough to make the call to make the switch, but I do think if you're preparing for the SEC and you're in the Big 12, go get your quarterback that's going to be the QB in the SEC ready. And there's no better way to do that than first-team reps, even if it's against Big 12 teams. That's been a criticism of mine. That's been a criticism of the group on the podcast for a long time now. But nonetheless, Michael Hawkins will be starting Saturday at Auburn. We'll see how it shakes out. I'm excited. I'm nervous. If we don't protect him, I think we're going to see a lot of the same results regardless of who's back there. A lot of people nationally have come out and said it's not a quarterback problem. It's an offensive scheming problem, which again goes back to brown bag Seth Luttrell. He needs to figure it out. He needs to scheme around the players that he has, not stick to this ignorant or arrogant game plan that he refuses to get away from. And he needs to run some basic plays that are going to get us yards. I'm not going to go in depth onto what he should run or the exact schematics of everything, but simplify it and make it work. You're the offensive coordinator at the University of Oklahoma. I think I can expect you to do that. Closing thoughts here. Jacoby Johnson, I think we mentioned he DB, now practicing as a wide receiver. So if that doesn't tell you how down we are in the wide receiver group, I don't know what will. Nick Anderson is allegedly done for the season. I don't know if that's been confirmed, but that's the rumor floating out there right now. Regardless, it doesn't sound like he's going to be back anytime soon. Deion Burks goes down with a soft tissue injury on Saturday. Don't know his status. I think, like I said, out of the 6 wide receivers that we currently have active, 4 of them are true freshmen. So I guess if you're going along those lines, you're getting some experience for a lot of true freshmen. We'll see how it shakes out. Maybe Hawkins has a rhythm with them. Maybe they've gotten more reps with him, so it'll make it a little bit easier and not as painful to get used to things. But nonetheless, you're gonna have growing pains with freshmen, regardless of where they're at. My question is, if we're playing all these freshman wide receiver and playing a freshman quarterback, why not give some freshman offensive linemen a shot, like Eddie Pierre-Louis and some of those guys in the offensive line rotation? You're not going to tell me it's going to be worse than the product we've thrown out there. And if it is, we have a lot bigger issue and a lot bigger conversation to have about the offensive line group. I don't want to talk about the offensive line anymore. I don't want to talk about the offense anymore. Michael Hawkins, be our savior. Be the prodigal son. We need you. And I think I speak for the whole Oklahoma fan base, at least most of us, maybe not some, in saying that we have faith in you after what we saw on Saturday night. And I'm excited to see you and the rest of the team play in Auburn for our first road game of the season. Hopefully we come back next week with a lot more positive vibes. Hopefully we've turned things around to an extent on the offensive side of the ball. Hopefully we continue our dominance defensively and we can come out of Auburn with a victory and a lot more positive message going forward. But until then, Boomer, Sooner.